Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is The Art of Politics. Last week we had Mr. Bill O'Brien on. He is the former state representative who became Speaker of the House, and he's back this week again because, well, we just really want to fight. So my name is Ken Gidge, and I am the Democrat, obviously, and Bill O'Brien?
Good to see you, Ken. You promise all this fighting, and we get along much more than we fight.
No, not this time. not this half hour.
So I'm going to go crying out of the studio
You
here.
are. You got us, the whole state, in a little bit of trouble when you were Speaker of the House. I would like you to explain it to me. It seems that you had to cut a lot of things, and I happen to, you took a lot of things away from mental everything, right across the board. And then what you did is the hospital aspect, you know how that is very complex, where the hospital, we tax hospitals, they pay us the money. When we get the money, more money in, we pay the hospitals back of what money we have, we can spend, which is extra. Explain. And so what you did is you got the money, but you didn't pay it back, and now there's a lawsuit.
Ken.
There we go. He will explain it much better than me, I have a feeling.
So, Ken, let's go to the second issue there. What you're talking about is the Medicaid enhancement tax. The Medicaid enhancement tax has existed since the 1990s. It's not an invention of Bill O'Brien. It's
91, but it was a Republican.
And so
Judd Gregg.
What happened was, there's a little bit of history here. Somebody noticed, and as a matter of fact, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services pushed this, saying, you want to know what? If you tax the hospitals, they can add that tax onto their Medicaid tax, get reimbursed by the federal government, and give you the reimbursement, and the hospitals will come out whole, and you'll get some money.
That's correct.
And so that's the way it worked. Then the federal government changed its tune on it and said, well, wait a minute. And new regime, and it came along and said, a tax, and this is a strange way to describe it, but it's how they described it. A tax has winners and losers. Some people get money, some people have money taken from them. And what you're saying here with this Medicaid enhancement tax is you tax the hospitals, and they get back everything they paid in the tax, and you keep the money coming from the federal government. And so Governor Lynch, in his budget proposal in the spring, late winter, early spring of 2011, the budget that you're saying, everybody says it's the Bill O'Brien budget, proposed having that tax not result in a reimbursement to the 10 largest hospitals, but only have it reimbursing what are called the critical care hospitals. The critical care hospitals are the smaller ones, like Huggins and Wolfboro's one of them, out in Keenan. These are the hospitals that are not like Elliott, that make tens and sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars in surplus. Because they're nonprofit, they don't make profits, but they do make surpluses. These other hospitals, if they don't get reimbursed for the critical care, and if they had to pay that as a true tax, they would go out of business. And so Governor Lynch proposed, and we said, you know what, that sounds like a good idea. So we'll take it from the biggest hospitals. That will satisfy the federal government's definition of what is a tax that we can reimburse, winners and losers. We carried it forward into our budget, and you mentioned
And
other
that's the
other
only
things.
way you could have balanced your budget was to do that. There was no other way to balance your budget other than to do that.
Yeah, no, there
Is
was.
this correct?
No, there was.
Well,
We cut
why
18
did we have to pay back something like
cut 18
$400 million or something
we
like
cut
that?
18. We cut 18% of spending. So there was a way to do it, but we agreed with Democrat Governor Lynch that this sounds like a useful approach. Since then, there's been 2 Superior Court judges that say, wait a minute, we have a New Hampshire constitutional.
No, but that only happened, the cases were brought against you.
No, they
not
weren't.
you personally. Well,
They brought against the state of New
because
Hampshire.
you didn't pay the hospitals back.
And
That's what
Governor Lynch proposed
Oh.
this, and we agreed to carry forward that proposal. in
Governor
our budget.
Lynch did not agree not to pay the hospitals back.
He put it into his budget
If
that he
it-
sent
it-
to us.
If
See, this is the
if-
fiction.
If it is
There's-
there, we will find it, and I will not go after you on that
You,
part.
know,
But-
you'll go after me anytime.
That's right.
Kinda. Yeah, fact or fiction, you'll go after me.
Yeah.
I'm just identifying this as the fiction go after me.
well-
the fact of the matter is that Governor Lynch put it there. We carried it forward, and since then there's been some Superior Court judges, the cases in front of the Supreme Court, who have said you have to tax people of the same category, same classification equally.
Except-
and so that's the issue there.
Right, except that if you would have paid the hospitals back, they wouldn't have sued. That's what it all comes to. And you
paid
may
the
like it or
hospitals
not,
back.
but it was in a sense, your budget, the way you went about it, the way
Are you
cut
ignoring the
money.
fact that we didn't come up with this idea, that the Democrat Governor Lynch came
I
up with this
don't
idea?
think Lynch came up with not
did.
paying them back.
He did. Well, that was the whole logic of it. Again, I'll give you the explanation. The
Well,
federal
if
government
it
said,
was
we
true-
won't reimburse it unless there's winners and losers. Governor Lynch identified a way to produce winners and losers. And so he said, well, that makes sense. We'll carry it forward. We'll use that. Doesn't increase any taxes. All it does is say to these large hospitals, the 10 largest hospitals, who as a group who had almost, actually had a little bit over $200 million in surplus each year, that we said, fine, we won't reimburse them. They won't go out of business. We will reimburse the critical care hospitals because we can't have these little town hospitals, these little city hospitals going out of business. And so we agreed with them. Now, all of a sudden, in the current rhetoric of your party, they've conveniently forgotten who came up with this idea, and they want to blame it on.
Well, I know, but
it's like Pelosi and the Veterans Administration.
Oh, here we go.
Pelosi and
Let's
the
go.
Veterans Administration
Oh, my
scandal.
God, here we go.
6 years ago, George Bush
Pelosi.
ceased being president, but
Here
it's
we go.
George Bush's problem.
go again.
Only because she can't blame Herbert Hoover. It gets ridiculous.
You know how
Ken.
you guys
It
got
get
in before,
ridiculous.
when you guys in 2010, when you had the majority. All right, you know how you guys got in, and I got to tell
got
you.
a bigger majority than you ever got.
Sununu did this. He was real smart. He said, don't talk about New Hampshire issues because New Hampshire is really not in bad shape. It needs help, but it's not in bad shape. Let's talk about Pelosi. Let's talk about how bad the president is doing. Let's talk about all these issues.
Wait a minute, Ken. I thought you were breaking into those meetings because
we got people going up, and you know this, that came in as Republicans who used exactly that, not local stuff, federal stuff. They came in and they wanted to write federal laws. You know that to be factual, or tried to.
I know none of that to be
right,
factual and true. I'm listening to
You
this
got to give me one. You got to give me one
story that is just beyond belief. Okay, now we'll come back to Earth here, and so
Earth calling Gidge, Earth calling O'Brien.
So what I'm saying is, yes, there is a case, a couple of cases out there that have identified that Governor Lynch's approach didn't work, and so we have an issue. It happens all the time. Fortunately, I think the upcoming election is going to be very good for Republicans and conservatives, and we'll handle it. I think we can handle it without further taxes. If we leave the current majority in place, we will certainly get a huge tax increase.
Wait a minute. You think you cannot raise taxes. Are you saying if you get in and you're the Speaker of the House, you'll push for more taxes?
You know I won't do that.
Well, but if it's needed, you would.
That's like saying if.
Yeah, what you just said, we hope we don't have to.
And so what I'm telling you is that we can right-size government. We can ask the same questions that we asked in 2010, 11, and 12. What is a core function of government? What needs to be done? And when you start asking that question, you say, we need to have a judiciary. We need to have a police force. We need to cover the challenges of people who cannot take care of themselves at all, the disabled, and those who are just challenged by the reality of life. Sometimes you can't do all the other things that you would like to do, but just don't have the money.
But under your system, a lot of those people who really needed it didn't get it.
You know what,
In
Ken?
fact, the Republicans stopped the Medicaid coming in. It's already been 1 year. That's $300. It's $1 million a day. I think you'll agree with that. That's $365 million that we have lost. Probably 5,000 jobs. And what? 48,000 people don't have insurance because of the Republicans.
This is so ridiculous, Ken. What the Democrats have done is move us towards the adoption of an expansion of Medicaid, a program that was originally put in place to cover 1 or 2% of the poor or the very poor, and have expanded it so that it will start to cover, when it's fully played out,
And
20 to 25% of the population,
why?
and will bankrupt our government.
Why?
Why? Because you're
they
big
don't-
spenders,
no,
because you love government programs.
Because those people don't have the money.
They did. That's
They don't have the money to get insurance.
No,
Hey, you know,
that's
getting Medicaid
fiction.
in New
That's-
Hampshire is
that-
not easy.
that's
I know a guy who
fiction.
lost a lung who couldn't get Medicaid.
That's fiction. Of the 50,000 people that we brought on in this government-financed expansion, 30,000 of them have private insurance already. They will lose that private insurance, but they have private insurance already. Because if
Yeah,
you say to people, you can get something for free, and instead of paying for it, people are going to get it for free.
Hold on a second. You make a good point. Because of Obamacare coming in, and because of this, first of all, Medicaid is a different animal, and that's part of Obamacare, and that's how that is
Medicaid
supposed
is a
to work.
dangerous.
It's-
We've talked
it's
about
supposed-
this.
All right, it's
a
really
dangerous way to
supposed
get medical
to work and to
coverage.
help people who are certainly below poverty, et cetera, and don't have it. Okay, but I'm going to tell you something. I was just talking to an individual whose husband, she has the insurance in the family. She lost her job. They've been on COBRA. COBRA's coming to the end. He works 40 hours a week, metal fabrication, no insurance, nothing inside that place where he's working over 40 hours. I guess he's probably, taken care of if he hurts himself on the job. And now what they're saying is, well, you can go and get Obamacare. You can go, I don't have to do this here. I'm a small shop. I don't have to have insurance for you guys. And I'm thinking to myself, especially that particular type of a job, it's not an easy job, obviously. It's a tough job. And he makes okay money, but not enough to run his house, family, his wife who lost his job, one kid is in college. I mean, I'm sure it's transportation, I'm sure there's insurance, just can't make it. Why aren't we taking care of our people in insurance? You can say, you can erase Obamacare in your mind. I want to know from you, why aren't we taking care of our people who need our assistance?
Government has created this problem. It created it with Obamacare. It created it with mandates for health insurance. Over 50% of the health insurance premium dollar is to address government-required mandates for health insurance. There's over 1,000 state laws that require things to be in. So government caused the unaffordability of that man's insurance, and now we're saying government has to grow in order to provide him something he can't get because of government.
Okay.
What I'm saying is,
I like that. That's a nice argument.
And what Republicans are saying is, let us free up the marketplace. Let's remove these mandates. Let's allow there to be insurance purchased across state lines, something you and I
We did.
sponsored
We
together.
did, yes.
Bring free
we
markets to the
And
insurance.
it is coming next term, or in 2015, there are more insurance companies coming into the state of New Hampshire.
We have one. Obamacare has produced a monopoly on health insurance
That's
in
your
New Hampshire.
fault as Republicans.
No, it's Jean
Yes, it
Shaheen's fault.
is.
It's Jean
Oh,
Shaheen's
for
fault.
God's sakes.
We had 16
you
companies.
Wouldn't even let us. You wouldn't even let us
we had
form an insurance exchange.
We had 60 insurance exchange to have one company list on the exchange, and we didn't.
Instead of we let the insurance company run it.
No, it's the federal government running it.
No, it's not. They're running it. The federal government agreed that they could run it this way.
Massachusetts put in their own one, and it's fallen flat in its face. Oregon put in its own insurance exchange using federal money, and it's spent over $300 million, and it doesn't work. They haven't signed up one person.
I don't believe that.
Vermont put in their own insurance exchange, and it's costing them almost $30 million a year to run it. We save money for New Hampshire by not putting in an exchange. Exchange is going to be there anyway. It's going to list one company anyway. It's going to be Anthem. And the reason we only have one company is because Jean Shaheen put in community rating back when she was governor, and we had 16 companies writing medical insurance in New Hampshire. Now we have essentially one.
Let us get to a little bit of reality check here. You guys hate Obama. You would do
I don't care about Obama.
You would do anything
I don't like
to
his policy.
stop the insurance, the Obamacare. You would do anything.
You just said two things. We hate Obama. That's really unfair. I don't hate the president of the United States.
You hate his policies.
I don't like his policies.
I apologize for that. But hold on. Let me finish this. Hold on. So what you guys did up here is to hurt Obama and Obamacare coming in. What you did is we're not going to have an exchange, which means we would get the money and we would distribute it. So what happens?
No,
the
Ken,
one insurance company.
You don't know what an exchange is.
Let me finish. One insurance company comes in, they become the exchange, not us. And there's a hospital right here in Nashua who is not even on that exchange part. We would have never done that. We have people from Nashua right here in this town who have mental issues, etc. If they're on that insurance policy, they must go to the hospital that doesn't have that faculty. That faculty has to send those people to Manchester, New Hampshire. It's you guys, and you guys. So now what happens is this hospital doesn't get onto this insurance thing with the insurance companies. And guess what happens? People lose their doctors.
It's because of Obamacare. It has no.
Hospitals. And so what do you guys do? You screwed it up so badly.
It's because of Obamacare that has happened. It doesn't matter whether there's a state-funded exchange or federal government, federal-funded exchange. It was only going to be one company coming in. It was going to be Anthem. And Anthem was going to make the decision it made, which is to try to concentrate on certain providers in order to become more efficient, more profitable.
More efficient.
The only reason this happened is, again, because of government. Government produced a monopoly. Government is engaged in crony capitalism with Anthem.
You're really good.
And the fact,
this is not true.
It absolutely is true. All we said was we're not going to take money, and thank God we didn't, because we'd be like Oregon or Massachusetts.
Why do you say that? Why do you?
Because they spent $300 million.
So what? Does that?
The Department of Justice.
We're so cheap, for God's sakes. We only get $100 a year. Are you telling me we couldn't run something better than Oregon is running it? Are you saying that we're dumber than them, or equally as dumb, and we can't do it?
In your party, when it comes to health insurance, Oregon has always been held up as the example. They got $300 million to put an Obamacare exchange in place, and they didn't sign up one person. The U.S. Department of Justice is investigating them now. Massachusetts was given money to take their state exchange that they had put in place for the plan they put in place under Governor Romney and make it into an exchange that would comply with Obamacare. and it's fallen flat in its
Okay,
face. They have a
let-
lawsuit against the company, but which is, by the way, has one of his executives who's a roommate of
It's gotta
Michelle
be it's
Michelle
gotta be
Obama.
It's got to be a Republican, a
You know,
Democrat, excuse me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a roommate of Michelle Obama
Well,
got these contracts.
you made a
And so
statement.
what
I
we
want you
said
to-
was, we're not going to take the money to set up an exchange that
Oh.
would be set up anyway, that would cost the people of New Hampshire at least as much as Vermont, $30 or $40 million a year to run. Thank God we didn't.
How about the first, I like the way you say that you save money for the citizens, but let's use Nashua. This is where the show is coming from. Because of the way it is set up, because we don't have an exchange, the money that it's going to cost the city the city people who are not on the exchange or even on the exchange can't go to a local hospital. They got to go to Manchester. What does that cost?
Did the
Does that cost anything at
Republicans
all?
pass Obamacare in Congress? Did I miss something
No.
here? This is a result of
You
Obamacare.
guys
Not one Republican
took
vote
it
in
so
Congress.
we could not put an exchange
Not
ourselves.
one Republican vote in Congress
and
was
you guys
cast
keep
for Obamacare.
saying that we couldn't do it. You keep saying we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. It was going to cost us a lot of money. I got a good idea. Let's just change this one.
Let me just say
All
this:
right, okay.
there's an exchange that would have been run the same whether it was state funded or federal funded.
But the Republicans could have run it better, just in case you had one.
What? Ken, we didn't want an exchange. Where'd that come from?
Well, all right,
You almost got me, huh?
Yes, I know. I am in commerce, which is banking and insurance. When I first got there, this was the big banking mess.
Right.
So I just went into it. I had no idea how.
This is the FRM? Or,
Yeah, well, it's that plus the banking of the banks getting money, and then there was the FRM thing, and now we're in the insurance aspect of that. I have had an argument with somebody from Anthem, and I said, you are only taking 10 hospitals in the state of New Hampshire, and if you add one more, it's going to cost more money. She said yes, and she was the former banking commissioner. She said yes, and now she's a lobbyist. I said, how much? I said, how much is it going to cost? I want the numbers. She came into our committee. I kept that up. They had to stop me. Cameras came in 3 days later to almost do the same thing. She gets up and she runs out. She doesn't want me to ask that question. And the question should be asked honestly, because in a sense you're correct about one insurance company, Gene Shaheen. We know that. When you and I have talked about it, that's why I got on that bill with you. But how much does it cost to add one more hospital? How much does it cost to add 2 more hospitals? What is the cost and what is the profit that one makes?
You're asking the wrong question. I admire what you did there, and I fully appreciate and empathize with the outrage. But you're asking the wrong question. The question that we should be asking is, why isn't there a free market in medical care? Because that's what's happening.
Why isn't a free market?
Yes, why isn't there
in
a free
medical
market?
care?
Yes, why do we only have one insurance company?
You're talking here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, because
You're talking here in
right.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire's there's one other state, and I can't remember. There's only one other state, I think, that only has one insurance company.
But
what we ought to be doing is
we've already agreed on that. So I'm asking the wrong question when I asked the insurance company, what is it? Why are you getting? If you add one more hospital, how much is it going to cost you?
The insurance company isn't set up to make sure that it is run like a welfare organization. That it even though it will lose money to bring on the 11th or the 12th or the 15th hospital, it does it because it's a nice thing to do. It's set up to stay in business and to make money for its shareholders. Now, the way a free market works is you get another insurance company to come in and compete. And
we already know that. But if one insurance company has it, all right, are they taking advantage? Excuse me. Are they taking advantage of the situation by getting rid of 10 hospitals and saying, not giving us the numbers of how much it would cost to add another hospital?
But that's
Should we not know those numbers?
That's the way a profit-seeking entity works. And in a free market, that's the way we want a profit-seeking
Not telling us Excuse me, we're New Hampshire.
We've created the problem.
I thought you said...
Government created the problem.
Yes, but I just thought you just said that we wanted free enterprise. We're not having the free insurance.
And so you think you think it's free enterprise for government to terrorize one company into changing its business practices rather than get some competitors in?
All right, one company runs it at this particular time.
Because we
and
caused
they won't tell us what it would cost to add one more hospital?
You know,
you're the guy who wants to save money. You're the guy who wants to help people here in the state of New Hampshire.
And I'll tell you how to do it.
Don't you want to know? Don't you tell me?
I want to know why that company doesn't have a competitor that changes its practice. Because if we could have a competitor, that competitor would go to hospitals not being used by Anthem and say,
I think that'll be answered in the next 2 years. Having said that, don't you want to know if they added one more hospital, how much it would cost? Don't you want to know?
I want to know why. I want to know. No, as a government.
So you don't want to know.
As a government, I don't.
You don't
care.
want to know why they're charging.
I don't think it's relevant information, because relevant information is how do we solve it. Not relevant information isn't how do we terrorize private enterprises to act like a welfare organization.
Our hospital in Nashua has a mental health unit.
Right.
There are 2 in Hillsborough County. One is in Nashua. One is in Manchester. All right. That hospital is completely out of the loop, so the people must go to this other hospital and then go to Manchester and not go to the city of Nashua. So I really want to know how much it would cost to add another hospital, but we only have 2 minutes left.
Well, again, I will only repeat, government shouldn't be terrorizing a monopoly that it sets up. Government should be defeating the conditions that produce that monopoly. That's how you solve that problem. You bring in a competitor to Anthem. You set up a law so that there's a competitor.
I agree with you. We can't disagree. But did you ever think, did it ever occur to you when you finally got the law where we can't have an insurance exchange, did it ever, hold on a second, because it's true, that's factual. Did it ever occur to you it would be an insurance company running this?
It not only did not occur to me, it's not happening. The federal government's running it. And the federal government's running it the same way the state would, because the state would have to satisfy federal regulations.
I thought you said Anthem is a free hospital, they make money?
No, Anthem is the only insurer in New Hampshire because of state mandates and the fact that we have community ratings.
I wish we had another half hour, because I'd love to go after those.
And that's something that Gene Shaheen did.
I know that. One thing about insurance, because we got, what, 56 seconds? All right, we're not going to do that. Anyway, it is nice seeing you again.
It's been delightful to be here, Ken. Really
tell the individuals how they get in touch with you.
Sure. So you can call me. My telephone number, 603-620-8710. My email address is my name spelled out, williamlobrien@gmail.com. Contact me. I like hearing from people.
You're on Facebook?
And I am on Facebook. Just look me up.
Okay, I'm on Facebook also. My name is Ken Gidge. You can go to Gidge World, which is an art website, or you can call me at 603-864-9332. I'm also on Facebook and all around the place. And also, if you'd like to comment on these shows, any of these shows, all you have to do is call 603-864-9332.
Ken, it's good to be here.
As always, thank you very much.